There we go. Good afternoon. This is Melissa Shower, Our Generation, where we educate, empower, and inspire. And I'm super, super excited about my guest today. Um, Wait, when y'all hear, y'all understand why. This has been a long time coming, so I'm excited. I want to give a shout out to Farm Free Life, for letting me utilize her space and for her amazing drink, caramel apple cider, and I got balanced. So I'm gonna be balanced out. And I also wanted to share an example of how it's important to be protected. And so I know, we've talked about Legal Shield, and I need to give you this. So this is a card, and it's my legal rights are protected. And I had a client that actually utilized this card. So he got pulled over, and he was like, I know that I was speeding. And so got pulled over, and he was like, I'm going to use this. So when they asked for the license and registration, he put this card on top where it says my rights are protected. And so he said the police officer looked annoyed and like, cause okay, what does that mean? And went back to his car, and then came back, handed him everything back, and didn't even give him a ticket. So it's just the power of, a lot of times people don't realize that there is access out there. Just like we've talked about, there's resources and there's things that are out there for people, but it's just hard to get them connected to it. And so that's what I do. So if you want to learn any more about that, please reach out to me. And here, let me give you this why I remember.
As I'm a Legal Shield customer myself, shout
Yes.
out to Melissa for taking care of us.
Yes.
She got us set up with my nonprofit for some of the resources that we needed legal wise. Able to get that free trademark once a year. Definitely will be utilizing that
Yes.
soon.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I also wanted to talk about so I am really big on learning and just keeping myself motivated, because that motivation is a struggle. And so I'm really constantly always trying to just pour into myself. And so I'm doing this 12-week class this on leadership, and it's once a week, and actually started in January, and every 12 weeks we go through a new book. And it's not your normal book club, it's more of a deep dive. So they really dive deep into it. And so yesterday I had the class, and they was talking about leadership, and they brought up about leading ourselves.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of times people miss that part. And one of the things that they said is, if you can't lead yourself, how do you expect to lead other people?
Wow.
And if you why would others follow you if the way you view yourself, if they viewed you the way you view yourself? And so the question that they asked us was, how do you view yourself? How do you see yourself? That's a huge, like, when you really think about that, when I thought about it, I was like, I can be very critical of myself. I can be annoyed with myself. A lot of times it's based on maybe just because of me not seeing my potential or not living up to that. And so I get frustrated. But to really think, okay, so if I feel that way, do you think other people might feel that way about me? Because maybe I have that out in my everyday life. Because of how I feel about myself, it can tend to rub off on relationships and how you even interact with people.
Yeah.
And so I just really thought that was an interesting point. And then he talked about how when was the last time we've forgiven ourselves for something?
Yes.
And that's a hard one too, because it's, we hold on to stuff all the time, and we just compound it. And being able to forgive yourself is huge, because really, how can you forgive other people? You're almost incapable of doing it, because
or accept the divine forgiveness that's accessible to you, because where you are still holding something that nobody else is even holding you to.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I really love those times when stuff makes me stop and think. Because even though a lot of us are on our healing journey and we're just on different paths, it doesn't mean that we're 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, it's a journey. I don't know if we'll ever be completed. because of just the cycle of life. So with that, I just wanted to share that with you guys. So I encourage you, to just definitely look up and read and do podcasts. Like really try to better yourself. Really look inside. And is this all life is? I was at a stoplight a few weeks ago, and I was like, people just literally just go through the day. Like you have a job and you go to
Autopilot.
you have a job that you go to from 9 to 5, and you don't even like your job, and you're giving them most of your life.
It's so funny of what you just felt inspired to start talking about as this interview led. And all of these things are elements of the work that I do. And what I guide people through understanding is how do you define yourself? What do you value? And how are you using that to make the choices and decisions you have to make for your life, effectively leading yourself
Yep.
in the actual direction you want to go? Are the things that you're doing day in and day out and what you're investing into leading you closer to your purpose and your destiny? Because life is not just where you're clocking in every day.
No.
And I first decided that I wanted to be a coach of some type when I was a kid, watching adults who didn't enjoy what they did for a living. Because I had a mom who, my mom is Kathy. We've always had businesses. She works with children, and she's walking in what she's passionate about. But seeing people who would have soul sucking careers, and most of their day went to that, and then they come and they have the short window of time where they're numbed out and they're just trying to entertain themselves or distract themselves, and it really didn't leave space for the deep inner processing work to reflect. And that's what I really wanted to change, that and set a new precedent for how we operated in our days as a society.
And I was at that moment, I was grateful that I wasn't part of that. That I want more. I strive for more. Like I'm not okay with how things are. Like I want to better myself. I want to better people around me. I want us to, change the world. And I know we're going to. And just being able to be, and I think it also plays a big part plays in that is your environment and who you surround yourself with. And it's important to let those people go that are holding you back. Let those traumas go, because we talk about it yesterday. One of the guys mentioned, we talk about we have our inner circle, our small circle. He said, but you really don't, because of all those people that you ain't forgave, or all those people that have traumatized you, you still got them in your circle. They may not be physically present, but they're still there. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. I gotta start chipping away. Like this is fall. It's time for these leaves to get. It's time for these trees to get cut.
Exactly. I feel the rate that we heal and grow is based on the rate that we can release and receive. How quickly can you let go of those things that can so easily build up, like you talked about? And how easily can you receive good things and feel deserving of those things and know how to sustain the things that you ask for? So that was the other piece that life coaching really served a vehicle for. Doing that part of the work is helping a person feel comfortable with transforming their life. It's not an easy task, especially like you said, when your environment is supportive of this old self. And if you have a lot of people that are negative reinforcements to that old way of being, and cutting off those people means isolating yourself as humans, that triggers a fear response for most people, because we were taught to be rejected is to die, because you are going to need to be a part of and accepted by people to survive. And so what I really wanted to create with the events that we do and the Hilitary is surrounding people with positive community, somewhere you can go where no matter what, these people are going to accept you with open arms. They're going to support you in getting where you need to go. It is not that we have any form of rooting against you.
Right.
So it's a whole different level of trust and welcomingness. But to be a part of an environment like that, you even have to get to a certain point of healing yourself, because you could sabotage the space.
Absolutely.
It's such a beautiful cycle when we can figure out how to heal as units and as communities.
And you provide a beautiful, beautiful space for that.
Thank you.
I know our first time we met, we had seen each other at the Sound Bowls,
right?
Because that's kind of how Sky is really the one that introduced me to this level of spirituality.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up a Jehovah's Witness, and you know, it was very strict, very, you know, this. My dad was an elder. Like they was pillars in the community, pillars in the congregation.
Right.
And so, like, I felt like I had no choice. You know, I always refer the book, The Four Agreements, and the first few chapters really stuck with me because it was like we was domesticated. Like we really did not have a say. And so, as we get older, it's like, wait a minute, how I don't really feel like that's the path that I want to take, but it was so ingrained in us.
Yes.
And I had asked my mom one day, because I got baptized, I think it was 13 or 14. I had asked my mom, I said, if I would have told you no, what would you have said? Because she was like, do you feel like we forced you? You may not have forced me, but the environment that you created left me no other choice. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of us grew up in those environments. Right. And so to be able to, as adults, have environments where it's more who you are is who you are, you know, and it's welcoming to those, and you don't have to feel like you have to be somebody. You know, I've been really unpacking a lot of things with my first marriage, and like I told someone the other day, like I literally feel like I was an actress in a role. I played a role. Like everybody had the scripts, and I was required to read them and be that person. Mm-hmm. And I did it for so long.
And some people forget that they have been playing a role. And it's a form of mental and emotional slavery and imprisonment. Mm-hmm. And that's why the work that I do is so near to my heart, because it really is people who are living in ways and negative cycles, or maybe even are a hurt person hurting people and are trapped within that because they don't have the awareness or the skill sets for change. Mm-hmm. And that I started to realize when I was younger, just busting people's bubbles about the bullshit that they were in and the lives that they were carrying on that was a facade.
Yes.
And a little kid being like, I can tell you're not happy in your relationship. Like,
no, for real.
And just saying it, like, are we all going to act like some vibes?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know, but helping somebody be aware that something is a trap without giving them those tools to free their mind and start making new choices is almost more debilitating.
Absolutely.
Which is why it's so important to me to cultivate solutions and resources of here's how to do the work and the steps that you need to take in order to feel more safety in being your authentic self.
That part.
And regulating your nervous system, rewiring your brain to re-educate you about what you are about, what life is about, because you can get so inundated by the messaging from society.
Yes.
I mean, because there's layers of loudness. You have society out here, you have the people in your community or your neighborhood, the people in your immediate household, and all those voices can sometimes become louder than the voice of your spirit.
Absolutely.
So my job is, how can I help you turn up the voice of your own inner guidance and to recognize, is this really what you believe or just what you've been doing?
Absolutely. Oh my God, that is so huge, because I came to that realization. And even I feel like me having this podcast really, really opened it up for me, because I would have never done this. I'm more behind the scenes, but I feel like I'm my most authentic self doing this. I'm able to interact with some dope ass people that pour into me and I pour into them, and it's just a reciprocation. You know, I remember, so I'll go back to how we met. We met at Ariel's, even though we saw each other at the Sound Bass, we really didn't interact too much, but I always felt that there was a connection. Mm-hmm. And so when we had that opportunity at the womb retreat she did, and literally I'm laying there, and because we did massages, and the way you was just talking, like I was crying, and I'm like, why the fuck am I crying? Like, I just first time I ever met this lady, like, you know, but you was speaking to things that were there that, one, I was afraid to admit or didn't think I was capable. I remember you told me, you said that I am the one that is going to change my family's legacy.
Yes.
And that was huge for me. I don't know what that looks like, but I feel like I'm starting to move in that direction.
Yes.
And to be able to have people around me like you and other people, is just like, yeah, this is my home. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
No wonder I always felt kind of strange, like,
Right.
because
Even my people.
I didn't belong there. I didn't. And growing
Yeah.
up, I never felt like I always kind of felt like I was just here, because the way I see people, I see people. I see people.
Here.
I
Yeah.
don't see the color. I don't see your gender. I don't see, your background, where you grew up at. I see people, and that's growing up. People didn't understand that. People would say all kinds of things. I'm trying to be this, or I'm trying to be that, and I'm just like, no, really not. Like, I'm just being me.
Exactly.
And now that I'm 45 years old, and I was gonna say, there's no time limit on when you can live your authentic self.
Yes. So true.
And don't feel like, oh, I'm too old for this shit.
And a lot of my clients are older. And it was really interesting when I was in my early 20s doing this work. And even though it was work I myself was going through and needing the lessons of, I saw how valuable the information was. So I wasn't going to wait until I perfectly embodied everything of it before starting to share. Like, hey, we need to be being our authentic selves out here, and, releasing this shame.
Yes.
And any false programs that have been running your life, and really taking control and being the architect of our lives and intentional about how we are building, with the understanding that we are eternal beings. And this is even a stepping stone in our larger legacy. So it's like I started to change the frame that I looked at my life from, versus I'm this little tiny thing and my life, the weight of it is crashing around me. I am this huge force that is one with the divine force, and we are co-creating this environment and life that I'm living in.
Absolutely.
And it just shifted everything, and it
was. Here, move your hair. I want to make sure that yeah, there you go. I don't want any of what you're saying to be muffled like.
Beautiful. But yes, and I found myself working with a lot of older clients, because they will be at the stages of their life where they're like, I've been wearing this mask for this long, and I see that it's unfulfilling. I see that I've lost these parts of myself. And I started calling it like soul loss. When people were losing touch with their soul for so long, they were losing some of the essence of it. We had to reawaken them and turn on the different parts of their mind again, help them use more of that creative sides of their brain, and just not overthinking so much, which then allows you to redirect all of that anxiety and shame and the mask, all that energy towards what you really want to build in your life and who you want to be. And it's a game changer.
It is. And, I've gotten glimpses of that. I'm still working towards that, still trying to, like, being an entrepreneur is hard. And there's times when I'm like, okay, I need a job. Like, I can't do this anymore. And I actually put my resume in and had an interview last week for an executive assistant for a nonprofit. And I never heard back. And I was like, you know what? That's because that's the universe saying, like, why are you doing this? You already have something.
Yep.
You are just not putting into
further.
Exactly what are you doing. So yeah.
Definitely. And that's what made me expand my practice and coaching from just the body to more of the body and the mind and spirit, but then adding in, how do we take our embodied authentic self and then build a life and a business that reflects who we are,
Absolutely.
what we want, what our talents are, what we can give back to the world, and also compare that with having the resiliency and the trusting of the process and the faith to even be an entrepreneur without losing your mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I feel like we kind of we went in. So let's back up. Can you tell the people?
Right, can I introduce myself?
I know, right?
explain this.
Right, that's like we got to do that. Can you please introduce yourself and like you're from just a little background and kind
Yeah.
of what made you? You kind of covered a little bit what made you get into this field and like where do you want to go? Like I know you're like me. We have grandiose. I
Yes.
like we really want to do
Touch
some
the
shit.
stars.
Yes,
Exactly. Well, I am Janessa. I go by JanessaTheMessenger. I am a creator, leader, healer, community organizer, plethora of other titles and roles that I play. But it all boils down to my desire to elevate the quality of life on the planet for all people in all places. I have a stance on just really loving all people, similar to what you said about loving all these different backgrounds of people. And it's not enough for me to just help one small segment. So that's what branched me out with my nonprofit organization, Prosperity Enrichment, that I have with my family, and the Hilitary United Forces, which is my other nonprofit I have with my partner, Austin Gibbs. Um, how can we strategically serve all the people without spreading ourselves too thin?
yes,
How can we call in all of these different specialists and people who their life's work specifically revolves around this element or this group of people or this healing modality, and then give those people the support and the resources to expand that, make that stronger, really born out of my own growth process and seeing what needs I would have had at every stage. So
absolutely.
something I don't know if you're familiar with about me or not is a little bit of a philosopher, psychologist.
I could tell.
Yes, and I have a four-part framework where I elaborate on here are the four main stages that people go through as they're in their healing process. What their mental process and their decision making is like, what kind of blockages or challenges are they facing. So then it makes it easier for me to identify with my clients, this is kind of the realm that you're existing in. And if you find yourself attracting a lot of these types of scenarios or these types of people or saying these kinds of things to yourself, it's because you're in this realm of stuff, but there's so much more over
It's funny
here.
you say that because recently, within the past year, and even kind of since I started my podcast, like the young people are like gravitating towards me. Like earlier, Demond Hicks called me and said, "Hey, I saw your post about Janessa." He was like, "Make sure she." And that's why I asked you about the collaborator. Make sure she accepts it. He said because that's going to give you more visibility. And I'm like, I just thought that was dope for him. He just thought about calling me to share that with me because I have built a relationship with him. Hell,
Yes.
I'm 45, he's 26.
Yeah.
But we have that connection, and it's beautiful to me. It's like, okay, this is where I need to be.
Exactly. And being able to have a community of resources and some things we've been working on recently is how can we get a directory together to
Yeah.
make it more easy to connect and for people to even know what all is available out here.
I agree.
There's a lot of people who don't even know about the coaching industry, for example,
No.
and that there are hundreds of thousands of people who have any specific specialization you can think of, like coaches that specifically help women that have ADHD and children to achieve their professional goals, specifically relating to being a creative professional. Like,
Absolutely.
it's super
No, absolutely.
in depth, and it's more support available in the world than at any other time.
Yes.
Even it was profound to humans before to even have books where you could read what took a person an entire lifetime to learn.
Absolutely.
That blew their mind. So us being able to have these platforms, I really am also kind of like this historian and a person to really help give context to the times that we're living in because it's unprecedented what we're able to experience and achieve right now. And I don't want us to take that for granted. And I also don't want to let things get away from us. because you already have so many people who feel like nostalgic for some kind of olden time and something they feel like they're trying to get back, versus how can we create something new on this planet that really encompasses what we need as humans to thrive. Because
Absolutely.
as you said, there's some environments where the environment itself is not even conducive
No.
to a certain quality of life. So when I work in childcare, we have our facility. If you're looking for childcare and you're in Indianapolis, Indiana, or you want to participate in our upcoming online preschool or educational resources for kids, shout us out. Hit us
Yes.
up on Prosperity Enrichment on all social media platforms. Side note.
No, absolutely.
But it's like I just was just noticing these gaps that were present in the lives of these children and seeing how it traces back to the family. But then if you go and you look at the parent and you see there's gaps in the parent's life and there's gaps in their life because there's gaps in where they come from and the communities that they're existing in, the education that they were receiving, and the ability to have enriching experiences outside of school versus compounded traumatic experiences with nobody teaching coping resources.
Absolutely.
And we wonder why so many of the population, no matter what background or socioeconomic status they're coming from, having such trouble with their emotions and healing
and being able to have healthy conflict.
Yes.
Like,
yes, conflict resolution.
That don't know nobody. I don't know unless you study it. We are not taught that.
Exactly.
Across the board.
And I remember, like, my soul is that of a peacemaker. So even as a little girl, I remember being in situations where I would be talking adults through how to handle the problems they were going through in more gentle or humane, respectful ways, how to speak in more kind words, how to readjust their approach to somebody so they can possibly get a better reception. And I remember people used to think that I was so silly to think that you didn't have to blow up when something huge happened, or that, you know, like, oh, they have me messed up, so I have to respond this way.
Correct.
And me just opening grown people's eyes, like, you could also try.
Right. No, absolutely.
And for them now to do things like, okay, I'm going to try to think about what Janessa said and take some deep breaths, and okay, I'm going to try to adjust my approach because I don't know what this person may have been going through today. And if this is just going to be the strong, like being considered basic human things. If I'm a child having to teach grown people, it's not kids that don't know.
No, for real. Absolutely. Yeah, but the kids know it because they haven't been bombarded with the trauma yet to suck that out of them, you know?
Hopefully. Another thing that I've seen, though, that I really want to go deeper in, like we said, birth to death support. Even when we are in our mother's wombs, when women are pregnant and their stress levels are a certain way, their nervous system is all dysregulated, it creates issues with that child's stress levels before they're even born. So we have an epidemic of a lot of stressed out children who are being born without coping mechanisms, and then having unregulated parents. And a part of with humans, we don't naturally know how to calm ourselves down and get back to regulated state. And a child relies on the adults in their lives and the calmness and safety within their nervous system to help show them a pattern of safety. But when there's so many people who are living in chronic stress and chronically stressed through pregnancy and in postpartum, a lot of these young children have never been given the calm down tool from the beginning. So some of my work as well deals with nervous system regulation and a proprietary system of body work that I use to work through what is clogging the body, what emotions are being stored in the body, what kinds of thought patterns are triggering physical responses in the body, and undoing those things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's coming down the pipeline? Like what thing are you working on now?
Currently, we are working on a fundraiser for our upcoming Thanksgiving community dinner at Broadway United Methodist Church. We're looking to feed 500 to 700 people, including veterans and families without homes. So this upcoming weekend on October 21st, we'll be doing an open mic and live art auction um, to help raise money towards that, but also to have a space where people can come together safely in community, which is any event that I host. That is a primary intention and how I designed it. We're coming out with more small, intimate gatherings coming up because I love a big party.
Yeah.
I love a spectacle of an event, but I also recognize the value of small groups where
Yes.
we're able to get into some one-on-one personalized attention. I have so many different skill sets and points of knowledge, so we're doing a kind of Q&A style situation where people will be able to just kind of openly and vulnerably share about what's going on with them in their life, their experiences right now, and where they could use some support. And then I'll channel messages for them and also get them connected with any recommendations or resources that I have for them. And this can be bringing matters to the table related to the body, the mind, the spirit, business, parenting, romantic relationships, the full Monty, which I really feel is going to be a great way too for people to get a better feel for what all I really have to offer.
Absolutely.
But it's birthday season, okay? And I'm going to be starting a content series, actually starting today. You're going to be featured on there. My 8 big goals leading up to my 28th birthday. So I'm releasing my book, oracle cards, music. So if you want to follow my journey on there, check me out on all social media platforms at JanessaTheMessenger. Um, I'm working on a documentary right now of the life and times of Janessa the Messenger.
I love it.
We're going to culminate with a time capsule. So this is your invitation to be a part of my time capsule. It's going to be 2 different ones. One is for the community, and it's going to document what is happening in the world in 2023 in Indianapolis, Indiana. We're going to put that stuff in a time capsule. But then the other one is for me, and I will open it about every 5 years or so, and it will be a way to keep track of my memories through my life.
That.
And I'll open it on my birthday.
I love that. That is amazing.
I'm so excited.
Thank you. I
remembered when we did a time capsule when I was young, and I just thought it was such a neat concept.
Yeah.
Like, girl, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I love that. So we actually did that in my mom and dad's house. Beautiful. We put it into the wall. And now that you said that, like, when is the right time to open it?
Right.
I have to talk to my family about it because, like, do you wait till the parents are gone and then open it, or maybe you want to experience that with them?
I would say that would be a cool experience.
Especially because now my dad's not here, and so that was part of what he did, and so that might be something.
Yeah, and then y'all can add some more stuff to open at a later date.
I love that.
I love a good put it back and come back for it.
Right.
But I also have my own podcast, which is going to be dropping very, very soon, called The Message with Janessa the Messenger. Kind of like a virtual show because it's a variety of things like our interview as well as my music, me doing some live performances.
She's a dope singer, by the way. I realized at the last event. I was like,
okay. I'll have 2 songs streaming on all platforms by my birthday, so look out for that. But definitely just stay tuned in for updates about various events and things on my social media platforms.
Yes.
But I'm on birthday behavior. Even though my birthday is December 2nd.
Hey,
really
that's all right. I love it. Well, thank you so much for interviewing. I cannot wait to re-interview you in 6 months to a year because I do feel that it's important for people to see their growth.
Yes.
And then other people to see their growth because they may be in a certain stage in their life and they're like, oh, wow, she's still doing, like, okay, there's hope for me. I can do this.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. And you're a beautiful soul. I just absolutely love you. I love our connection. I'm so grateful to have our paths to have crossed, especially at this time in my life. It was needed, and the universe knew that.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about what we're going to do because we have things that we're wanting to collaborate on. Um, so yeah, we're definitely about to change the scape of Indianapolis.
The literal. I got a song where it's like, um, we are healing and feeling. We are growing and knowing. We are raising vibration.
I love that.
We are shaping the nation.
Nice. I love that.
That's my song.
Yeah.
We are one. Yes, we are
Yes.
one.
I love that. So how long have you been working on that?
Oh, girl, I've been writing music since a youngin and training myself how
Not
to
a
sing for
youngin. That's what
years.
old people say. A youngin. What?
Really, y'all caught me when I had something in my throat, but acceptable. It's
Yeah.
acceptable. But I really started taking my music seriously in about 2018. I remember I had a friend who just released an album. I used to not consider myself an artist, and I told him that I liked to sing, and he was like, "Oh, I would love to hear your singing voice," and I kept avoiding it. And one day he was like, "No, I'm gonna hear your singing voice today.
Oh
Like,
wow.
let me know when you're
Right.
ready." Had a
Yeah.
whole anxiety attack waiting to go back up there and sing. I was actually with AG the Pharaoh. Also, shout out to AG. Check out his clothing brand.
Yeah.
It's been such a long time coming. Me and him and my friend that I was telling you about, whose name is Berto Bartel, we were in a music collective together called Legendary Figures.
Okay.
So music is another great love of mine, but it's really just an avenue that I use to share my message and use my lyrics to uplift and support.
I tell you, so I ever since Londrell was here, I literally have him. I have a station on Pandora. That's all I listen to. I've heard some dope ass music. Like, okay, like forget this mess that's out here. I'm not listening to none of that no more.
Girl, why would we?
Right? Like
the frequency of music and the lyrics within it really do imprint on the subconscious mind
so
in
much.
a serious way. And especially before you have built up your mental fortitude and strength.
Yes.
When you're still at the impressionable state.
Yeah.
So I believe we go from being like a thermometer to a thermostat. The thermometer absorbs the temperature around them and it assimilates to that. But the thermostat sets the tone, sets the temperature. If my frequency is at this level, it helps to share that level around me. So when people are still at that vulnerable state in their mind, I really don't recommend listening to certain music because if you notice, you'll manifest what's happening in the lyrics
every
in your
time.
real life, which is why I use that to my advantage with
Yes.
the positive lyrics.
Yes. Yes.
Literally.
Yeah.
Shout out to my upcoming song, On the Way Up. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see like this first rough draft version already, but that will definitely be streaming here in a couple weeks as
exciting.
well. I love that you use, I meant to tell you that, flow state. The fact that you used that flow state song on my ad for this podcast is so dope because a big part of my educational curriculum and philosophies deals with the flow state. I went to a school called Key Learning Community where we literally had Flow by Mahai Csikszentmihalyi taught as a class at our school, Flow class. And we would explore different activities that exercise different parts of your mind and different intelligence areas. And you would get into a focused state and be able to really immerse into the learning. And
I need that.
Yes. And being able to learn about the 8 intelligence areas as a kid to know that it's not that I wasn't smart just because the ways that they measured intelligence was not areas that I was stronger in. But it was that everybody has their unique genius zones.
Yes.
There's multiple types of intelligences. And when you challenge yourself just enough while still doing something that's enjoyable to you, that's how you get into that flow
Love
state.
that.
So I started writing papers on the flow state when I was in the fourth grade.
Oh my goodness!
So the fact that you put that song,
is crazy. Like that was like there was another song, and then I was like, yeah, no, not that one. And then that's the second one I went to.
Yeah.
And I saw that. I said, this is it.
Yes. One other thing that I wanted to shout out, guys, is just if you are in the process of your life where you are going through change or finding yourself, your identity, you want to go deeper on your spiritual journey or find what you feel like your purpose is, I would love to support and guide you with that, to be somebody that can help point you in the right direction of things that have been so beneficial for me and literally hundreds of the people that I've helped. It's been amazing to realize that I've done this work long enough that I've done hundreds of sessions.
Isn't that dope? That is dope. Just like I realized that I'm between 60 and 80 interviews.
Oh, wow.
Guests. I'm thinking, oh my God, like that's a lot.
It's a lot of people and a lot of growth and a lot of talent.
Yes.
And I just want to shout you out, Melissa.
Thank
you
you
for everything that you're doing and what you're building. Thank you for this platform and giving your audience access to what's going on in their world and city and an opportunity to support that.
Absolutely.
So,
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So this has been Melissa Shaw with Our Generation. And please stay tuned because I'm going to be having more dope guests just like we do, like Janessa. And please follow her and reach out to her. You need to have her to coach you. She's dope. So again, this has been Melissa with Our Generation, and we are out. I never can get I can never get it to shut off.